When you're young, everyone talks loudly, everyone is sure, everyone is in a hurry. They tell you what success looks like, what failure means, what you should fear, what you should chase. I believed them. I'm over 80 years old now. I've lived long enough to watch the world change its mind several times. And I can tell you this with certainty. Most of the things that keep you awake at night right now will not matter nearly as much as you think. Today, I'm not here to motivate you. I'm not here to sell you hope. I'm here to tell you what time taught me, slowly, painfully, honestly. Not the kind of lessons you learn from books, the kind you only understand after decades of consequences. If I could sit across from my younger self or from you, this is what I'd say. When I was young, I thought life was a test. Get good grades, get the right job, marry at the right time, buy the right house, say the right things. I believed if I followed the rules carefully enough, life would reward me. So I worked hard, I worried harder, I measured myself constantly against co-workers, neighbors, strangers. Someone always seemed ahead of me. Someone always had more. And every time I reached a goal, the feeling disappeared faster than I expected. That confused me. No one tells you this when you're young. Achievement does not settle your mind. It only raises the next question. I spent years chasing approval I didn't need from people who weren't paying attention. I said yes when I wanted to say no. I stayed quiet when I should have spoken. I stayed busy so I wouldn't have to feel unsure. Looking back, I wasn't ambitious. I was afraid of falling behind, afraid of being ordinary. Afraid of disappointing people who weren't living my life. If you're young and anxious right now, let me save you some time. Most of that pressure isn't real, it's inherited. Mistakes are patient teachers. They don't rush. They wait until you're ready or tired enough to listen. I made mistakes with money. I thought earning more would calm me. It didn't, it just gave my worries better furniture. I made mistakes with time. I postponed joy. I delayed rest. I told myself I'd slow down after this phase. That phase never ended. I made my biggest mistakes with people. I assumed they'd always be there. I assumed I'd have another chance to call, another chance to listen, another chance to apologize. Life doesn't warn you when the last conversation happens. One day, you're busy. The next day, you're remembering. I learned too late that relationships don't survive neglect, even when love is present. They survive attention. And pride. Pride is expensive. I held on to being right longer than I held on to peace. I won arguments that cost me closeness. If you remember one thing from this section, remember this. You don't regret the risks you took nearly as much as the moments you stayed silent when it mattered. I wish I'd worried less about being liked and more about being honest. For a long time, I confused kindness with agreement. I said yes when I meant no. I stayed quiet when something didn't sit right. I edited myself to keep the peace and slowly lost my own. Being liked feels good in the moment, but honesty builds something deeper. It builds self-respect. And once you have that, you stop needing approval as proof that you matter. I wish I'd taken more walks and fewer things personally. I used to carry every comment with me, every look, every offhand remark, as if the world was a courtroom and I was always on trial. Most people aren't thinking about you nearly as much as you think. They're busy fighting their own quiet battles. A long walk teaches you that. It reminds you that thoughts pass, tension loosens, and perspective returns if you give it time and movement. I wish I'd trusted sooner that life isn't a race, it's a direction. I spent years sprinting without asking where I was going, chasing milestones, because everyone else seemed to be chasing them too. But speed without direction only gets you tired faster. Progress isn't about how quickly you move, it's about whether you're moving towards something that actually matters to you. Slow, intentional steps beat frantic motion every time. I wish I'd understood earlier that fear doesn't disappear when you wait. It disappears when you act. I thought courage was something you earned, that one day I'd wake up ready, confident, unshaken. That day never came. Fear doesn't shrink by being analyzed. It shrinks by being challenged, by making the call, by having the conversation, by stepping forward with a shaking voice and doing it anyway. Waiting doesn't make you braver, it just makes fear more comfortable. I waited too long to enjoy small moments because I thought bigger ones were coming. I told myself I'll relax after this phase. I'll enjoy it once things settle. I'll be present when I get where I'm going. The big moments did come, and they went, quietly, almost without warning. What stayed were the small moments. Morning light through a window, a shared laugh that wasn't planned, a calm afternoon with nowhere to be. That's where life was actually happening. If you're watching this and feeling behind, listen carefully. You're not late, you're early in your understanding. Most people don't ask these questions until much later or never at all. Awareness isn't a sign of failure, it's a sign you're waking up. You don't need to fix your entire life this year. That idea exhausts people before they begin. You just need to choose one thing to do more honestly. One conversation you've been avoiding. One boundary you've been afraid to set. One brave step that feels small but real. That's how lives change. Not in dramatic leaps, but quietly, consistently. One truthful decision at a time. And looking back, that's the part I wish I'd trusted sooner. Let me tell you what didn't matter as much as I thought it would. Other people's timelines. I spent years measuring my life against calendars that weren't mine. Who married first? Who bought a house first? Who made it before 30? I thought I was behind, when in reality, I was just on a different road. Other people's opinions. I wasted energy trying to be understood by people who weren't listening, trying to impress people who wouldn't remember my name a year later, trying to win approval that kept changing its rules. You can live your whole life chasing applause and still feel empty when the room goes quiet. Being impressive. That one took me the longest to let go of. I thought life was about looking successful, sounding confident, appearing unbothered. But looking strong and being at peace are not the same thing. Now, let me tell you what actually mattered. Health. Because everything else depends on it. Not just the big things, the quiet things. Being able to wake up without pain. To breathe deeply, to move freely, to have energy for the people you love. Without health, ambition becomes noise, not perfection. Just care. Care in how you treat your body. Care in how you speak to people. Care in how you handle your days. Life doesn't reward flawless execution. It responds to consistent attention. A few honest relationships, not many, just real. People you don't have to perform for. People who let you be quiet. People who tell you the truth without trying to control you. In the end, you don't miss crowds, you miss connection. Peace of mind, that's the currency no one teaches you to value early. The ability to sit quietly without needing distraction, without needing to check something, without needing to escape yourself. That kind of peace doesn't come from having more. It comes from wanting less. I used to believe happiness was a destination, that one day I'd arrive, that everything would finally click, that the pressure would disappear. But happiness isn't a place, it's a habit. It's choosing not to carry unnecessary weight. Old grudges, old guilt, old expectations that no longer fit who you are. It's forgiving faster, including yourself. For not knowing sooner. For choosing wrong sometimes. For being human. It's learning when enough is enough. Enough work, enough noise, enough proving, enough striving for things that cost you more than they give back. Success doesn't feel like applause in the end. It feels like alignment. When your days match your values. When your energy isn't split in 10 directions. When you can look at your life and recognize it as yours. Your life doesn't need to look good to everyone. It just needs to feel right to you. And here's the hardest truth I learned. One I wish I'd accepted earlier. You will never feel ready. Ready is a myth we use to delay courage, a comfortable excuse that sounds responsible but isn't. Start before you're confident. Speak before you're comfortable. Rest before you're exhausted. Love before you feel completely secure. Because time is generous, but it's not unlimited. And one day you realize what mattered most was never the pressure. It was the peace you protected along the way. I don't have all the answers, but I do have perspective. And perspective only comes from staying long enough to see what mattered and what never really did. Time has a way of stripping life down to its essentials. The noise fades, the urgency softens, and what's left is surprisingly simple. If I could leave you with one final thought, it would be this. Don't wait for permission to live your life. Most of us are taught, quietly, indirectly, to wait, to be certain, to be approved, to be ready. But life doesn't send invitations. It moves on whether you step forward or not. Most regrets aren't about failure, they're about delay. Delay in loving the people who mattered. Delay in saying what needed to be said. Delay in choosing yourself when it would have made all the difference. Failure teaches you something. Delay just teaches you what you missed. Use your time well, not perfectly, just honestly. Spend it on things that feel real, on people who let you be yourself, on moments you don't need to explain to anyone else. One day, it will be your turn to look back. And when that day comes, you'll want to recognize the life you lived, not the one you kept postponing. Thank you for listening, and more importantly, thank you for staying.